These are not Tex-Mex ranch style beans. This is frijoles charros, the heart and soul of the Rio Grande Valley. I'm gonna show you today the staple of my childhood. I remember crossing the border to get these. They were served with all the taquerias. My uncle made them and they were award-winning. My aunt would make them at gatherings. Frijoles a la charra, frijoles charro, charro beans, cowboy beans. And this is a lot easier than you might think. For this, I'm using a very humble ingredient. This is tradition. This is what I grew up with. This is what many other Hispanics, Latinos, Mexicans, whatever, they grew up with the pinto bean. When it's cooked through, this can be very creamy and it's gonna soak up all that smokiness and flavor when we stew it all together. We don't mess with tradition here, mainly because this is the perfect vessel for this soup. It's creamy, it's bold, it soaks up all the flavor. This is the perfect bean for it. There are other beans for different things. This is for this one thing, it is perfect. Aside from being easy to make, this can be something that takes quite a while because beans can take a while to cook. To speed up this cook, we can soak the beans overnight in some water. This was about 2 cups of beans. As you can see, it has doubled in size in the water. This is just soaked in the fridge overnight. This will cut the cooking time in half. I remember my aunt would make a huge pot, probably like double, triple the size of this pot of beans. And she would make them like when my uncle would do barbecues or we'd have gatherings or like New Year's Eve, whatever, there'd always be these frijoles charros and we'd have, our styrofoam cups and just keep refilling throughout the night. You wouldn't just have one cup, it just keeps coming. Even at some of my favorite restaurants back home, they will serve you endless mugs, coffee mugs of these beans. Anyways, as you can tell, I'm putting it in an Instant Pot. This is just an electric pressure cooker. Let me talk normal. And this is going to speed up the process a lot. This will take about probably 8 to 10 minutes. And instead of taking 30 minutes soaked or an hour and a half not soaked, it's gonna be about 8 to 10 minutes. So if you have this, go ahead and use it. So whenever cooking beans on the stovetop, you wanna do about a 3-to-1 ratio of beans to liquid. Now, when to salt the beans, there is this long-standing myth in cooking world that if you salt the beans first, they're never gonna soften. Now, it's totally fine just to season them. You can even season the soaking water. It penetrates the cell wall of the bean. So we're good to do this, especially since I'm pressure cooking it. I just wanna salt it right now. You can also add in your aromatics, but the reason why I'm not adding in any aromatics, like say, onion or herbage, peppercorn, stuff like that. I'm not doing that because I'm gonna turn these into some really nice frijoles charros and it's gonna have a bunch of aromatics in it already. So right now I just need my blank canvas of pinto beans. The mirepoix, the aromatics for this, they're all very common. Now, I'm using bacon. That's what my uncle uses. He also uses sausage, which I'm not using today. I'm gonna be utilizing the chorizo that we got at the store. And sometimes I would even utilize brisket. So it's to each his own when it comes to the protein, but for the most part, it's usually like rough chopped bacon and some chorizo or some sausage, but it's always gonna have the onions, garlic, jalapeno, all that stuff. Now, my uncle, I take his advice because I grew up eating his as well, because he would compete and he would also come home with some trophies. There was a thing called a Charro Days festival back home. And Charro Days is such a big deal back home that I even get a half week off from school. From elementary school all the way to high school, we would get an entire half a week off. I would even march in the parades. I would take part in the festivities, and you can go and see so many cool things at this Charro Days festival. So basically what it is it's a festival where they celebrate the border. So the mayor of Matamoros, Mexico will walk across the border, and then the mayor of Brownsville will walk across the border. They shake hands, we have a big festival, and they have the frijole cook-off. My uncle will compete in the frijole cook-off. Many other people will compete, restaurants compete. There's also really cool competitions, like there's a jalapeno eating contest, which I love to watch. There's the grito contest. If you don't know what a grito is, Google it. There's the tortilla toss, there's concerts, there's food, it's really fun. This is why I'm just wanting to talk about this, because it's a very ingrained thing in my childhood, everyone else's from my town's childhood. It's just a very big thing in our culture. Frijoles charros, it's not just a side. It's very soulful, very hearty. I think this is gonna make a very good soup. I don't know if I could call it a soup or a stew. What do you think? Soup or stew?
Came to a big box grocery store, not a small one, because usually you're not going to find it there. And it's just to show you one specific thing that I grew up with that makes these beans what they are, really. You might find them at, say, a local nice grocery shop, but for the most part, you're going to find them at the big box ones, or mainly at your Mexican stores like a carniceria. But yeah, you're gonna find them at the Mexican stores or the big box ones like this. The one I'm at currently is owned by Kroger. Usually you're gonna find it in the aisle with the bacon. So here's the two things that you would need, the bacon and then the chorizo. It's always in this tube, and it's usually cacique. There are other brands, but it's usually in a tube just like this. I do the pork chorizo. This is exactly what I grew up on. Kind of interesting to see at this store that they're representing charro beans. Let's see where it's from though. Siete Foods, Austin, Texas.
The reason why I'm doing the frijoles charros today is because of the video I just posted. If you haven't watched it, it is about South Texas taquitos. And a lot of people, if they know South Texas taquitos, they always will have the option, sometimes they even just serve it with it, is frijoles charros. Everything is right here for the cook. The proteins, we get the fats from the proteins, the bacon, the chorizo, then we toss in the aromatics, the onion, the garlic, the jalapeno. I'm gonna deglaze at some point with some whole peeled tomato. I'm then going to toss in some broth. You don't have to do broth. If you don't want, you could do water. At some point, it's also going to get cilantro. And then that's for the beans. I've got the beans in the pressure cooker, but when they're done, I'm going to make it a certain style after. That's what this is for. I will show you what that is at the end. It's called borracho style. Okay, the soup, it's soupy, right? I wanna make it extra creamy. I like to add in what I call bean milk. Yeah, it sounds delicious. So you just blend the beans with some bean juice, and then we mix that in, and it's gonna add a whole other depth of creaminess to it. As you can see, it's already pretty much changed. It looked a lot looser, and now it looks a lot tighter and velvety. And the beans would do that on their own, but they would break down. So I'd like to speed up that process so all my beans aren't broken down. I just have so many memories of crossing the border and having these with most meals, and just, the smell is just bringing me back. It smells so freaking delicious. Okay, so borracho style is basically when you order it done up. Like they dress it up with everything that comes in the taquito. And it's so good. If you haven't watched the taquito video, go watch it. It's the one prior to this. So it's gonna be the beefsteak, which is this right here, plus the cilantro, cotija cheese or queso fresco, avocado, some lime, and I think that's basically it. You could even do caramelized onions, I think, too. But the borracho style is just done up like that, where you're basically getting all the taco filling on top of the frijoles. It was mind-blowing for me when I first discovered it when I was like, what, 8 years old or something? It's the best. So yeah, borracho style just means drunken style. Someone made this comment about the meat being overcooked and chopped too small. This isn't a third world country. I don't think they watched the whole video because I was explaining what the beefsteak is. It's just usually chuck. I used a nicer cut today, but it's usually chuck, and you cook it really hard, nice and crispy, and then you just cut it really, really small as you can. And that just makes a really nice texture in the taco. But that's what the beefsteak usually is. It's chopped really small. So that's a real bite. Oh my God, man. Okay guys, let me know if I should compete in the frijole cook-off, and I will. Spam Uncle Jesse in the comments and I'll compete with my Uncle Jesse in the frijole cook-off. Maybe I'll do it. Oh, this will be really good.